Hey guys, Steve Vigil here, and so glad that everybody is joining us. We're sending this out to everybody just for some more education on what's going on out there. And we're hearing a lot of different podcasts about a lot of different things, some very good information going on. But one thing that I have not seen is nobody's talking about, not talking to all the different areas of real estate. And wholesaling is a huge part of what we do as real estate investors, but I'm not hearing any of the wholesale companies talk about what's going on. So Matt and I were talking the other day and decided that we needed to do this. And for those of you that don't know, I've got Matt Trenchard here with us. Matt is the owner of Senna House Buyers, and Matt and I have known each other for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, a while.
Yeah, and you guys have done a phenomenal job over the years in wholesale many homes, along with other things that you've done. But when I think of really ethical professional wholesalers, you guys are always at the top of the list. And so wanted to open up that conversation and just you see changes going on like all of us do.
Mm-hmm.
And as a wholesaler, obviously we've got to make changes now. So
Sure.
What are you kind of doing going into this right now?
Well, first, thanks for having me, Steve. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You're right. Things are shifting, and some of the stuff we were talking about on our call the other day was, last time we had a dip, what was that, 2014, 2015, when oil really, put a hit on the economy here locally. What we found was, so wholesaling the property, right? We've got the acquisition first and then the liquidation second, right? And so we have 2 clients for every transaction. And so what we found was typically when the market slowed down, generally speaking, our buyers start to tighten up, right? So maybe guys who are investing part-time, now all of a sudden they're a little nervous because they don't know what's going to happen with the job market. So they really start reining in what they're spending money on. And then what ends up happening is over time that shifts over to where the sellers become a little bit more motivated because there's less competition out there, right? When the market's hot and things are flying off the shelves and you're getting multiple offers every day, full price, then the guy who can come in and pay cash and close quickly, he's not as valuable, right? And so it makes buying the house a little tricky. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, when buyers are starting to tighten up their buying criteria, when less buyers are there than some, I guess, less experienced wholesalers or less fundamentally sound wholesalers, their buyer pool starts to shrink. It becomes a little bit more tricky to sell a property. Then what that translates to is the homeowner has less options to choose from, right? Which makes it a little bit better on the acquisition side, a little bit tougher on the disposition side.
Right.
And so what we're finding right now, since it's still relatively early, and with what the government's doing to help people kind of get through this time period, is the buyers are already worried. They're already wondering what's going to happen. Some of them are probably watching this, like, let's see what these guys say so I can figure out what I want to do. Right. And so they're already starting to tighten up. I've had conversations that have ranged from, I had a guy who had offered on one of our properties. They dropped their price because the owner of the company said, we have to drop our criteria by 5%. So they dropped their price on what they want to pay for the house. I had another one who told me, he said, I'm only buying home runs. If I have to get a calculator out to figure out if it's a deal or not, I already know it's not going to be good for me. Mm-hmm. But they're really, really slowing down. The issue we're having is that hasn't quite translated to the seller side yet, right? Nobody's getting evicted, nobody's getting foreclosed on, everybody's getting their stimulus checks. So the motivation, the pain point hasn't sunk its teeth in, it hasn't grasped onto the seller just yet. I think that we're due for that, and I think that's coming, but we're kind of in that limbo stage. And so what we've been doing at Senna House Buyers is we're finding ways to get a little bit more lean in our operation. This is a great time, since things are slowing down, to really look at all of those things you put on the back burner, because when leads are coming in and you're running through deals, you don't have time to mess with. So we're making our processes more efficient. We're reevaluating all the marketing. We're targeting the lower price point. So before we would do anything under really $450 is what we would specifically target. We're dropping that down to $300. We still get stuff outside of that because, people get on the website or whatever the case is, but our specific targeting, we're lowering the price point. I want to get closer to that median because there's always going to be more action there. And so I think right now the guys who can weather this intermediary period where the buyers are tightening up, but the sellers aren't quite, really getting more motivated, the ones who can ride that out are going to be positioned very well for when, the sellers do start to get more motivated. And then I think we're going to have a pretty nice buying opportunity when that comes.
Right.
Some of the guys I've seen, some of our local guys, some of our buddies who seem to know exactly what's going to happen. I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, my crystal balls, it broke a long time ago.
It broke a real long time ago. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. My gut is we're going to have, a pretty decent buying opportunity. I would love if it's one of those, 2008, 2009 generational opportunities, but I just don't know if it's going to be because of all the intervention the government has right now.
Right.
So we'll see, but that's what we're doing. We're focusing on getting lean, getting more efficient, and we're just really trying to stay in tune and talk to our buyers and see, like, what are you thinking? Like the guys who buy from us over and over, are you changing criteria? Are you switching from flips to rentals? Most of them are not really switching. They're just kind of getting a little bit more tight. So maybe if they were going to buy a deal at 75%, now the max they're going to do is 72, 73%, right? So, which makes it tough for guys like me who the sellers haven't quite, like I said, felt that pain point just yet. And so they're like, well, I don't care if your buyers are paying less. Like this other Joe Schmo down the street's offering me 20 grand more than you are. So,
Right.
we'll have to ride that storm, and we do the best we can to deal with that.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, anytime we're in that limbo state, which we're in now, and at this point, you think that limbo state's going to last another, couple of weeks till we get to the end of the month. But, who knows? When we get to the end of the month, they say, okay, we stay at home for another 30 days. Well,
right.
Change that whole outlook again. And, I'm talking to a lot of people like you are. That's how we stay in tune with what's going on. And I've been talking to a number of wholesalers. I work with a handful of guys that bring me stuff. And they've all called me, will you still buy? I'm like, well, I'll buy, but it's, where I bought like this now
right.
And we've got properties listed too on the retail side we're trying to sell. And I've got one in particular property that, we were just going to do a quick hotel on it, just, and we actually had a contract on this right before the shutdown. And when the shutdown happened, everybody backed out.
Yep.
And of course, that opens us up to having, a ton of low ball offers on it, which we expected 100%.
Yep.
And then just this morning, right before we got on, I just got another offer on it that's not terrible, not where I want it to be. So, I'll have to go back and negotiate. Okay, if I accept this, since this is listed, we're going to need to cut the commission. We're going to need to have you pay the closing costs and see if I can work something out that direction, just so I can net maybe a little bit more.
Right.
But yeah, we've had to be very creative with the things we've got on the retail market right now, because we're getting showings. People are coming and looking at properties, but nobody's pulling the trigger because everybody's in the same thing and nobody knows. So everybody's a little scared.
Yeah.
So, do we have to offer other types of incentives that we can to try and, get somebody to buy? I agree 100% with the sellers that we're seeing out there. That a lot of people are coming to me, I've got deals, and well, don't send me a 75 or 80% deal. I still get some of those. I get some 80% deals sent to me still. And, it's going to be an education period with our sellers. Now, I've always, been very good at going in and educating sellers, and that's, been one of my strong points of getting deals. And now I wholesale very few deals nowadays, but I've always been a big buyer, and obviously that's slowing down too, But we're just going to have to keep working through all that, and we'll get there. We're going to get to that other side at some point. Going forward, what are some things that you think that you might go towards? I mean, are you think the wholesaling game is still going to be a strong game to play going forward?
Oh yeah, I think so. Like I said, over the years we've just had to shift at different times.
Mhm.
You go from times where it's really really easy to sell deals, like right now, and well, not right now, pre-virus.
Right.
Um, but it's harder to buy them because so many people are competing, right? And so you kind
Right.
of have to shift what your focus is and what your strong suit is. And then on the flip side, we've had it where really easy to buy deals, but it's harder to find buyers because everybody's tightening up and they're getting a little bit more disciplined. And then we have to shift as well. I think, you mentioned the education of the seller, and that is so vital, especially in a time like now, right?
Hmm.
A lot of times people who are involved in real estate full-time, wholesalers any investor who's buying properties directly from a homeowner, they take for granted that we will buy more houses in a month than somebody will in a lifetime, right?
Right. Right.
And so you don't really think about it that way, but you
Mhm.
have to understand that you don't take that for granted when you're talking to a homeowner. Sometimes you need to take that time to explain to them, listen, like I know Susie Q, your cousin who, has done 2 transactions in the last year as a real estate agent, is telling you one thing, but that doesn't always mean that that's what the case is.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so we really try to take the approach when we're meeting with homeowners to just be 100% fully transparent and very, very consultative. And
Hmm.
so we show them the comps. We tell them how much money we plan to make on the property. 9 times out of 10, a homeowner does not care. They understand that you are an investor. You're buying a property to make money, and they
Hmm.
don't necessarily care. It's just the way you present it. And so we're doing the same thing, and we're implementing things like we're telling them the things that our buyers are telling us. We're telling them the things that we're seeing on the retail market. We're asking them questions about, what do you think is going to happen if you put your house on the market? Do you think people are going to want to see it and buy it and go show it with all the virus stuff going on? And so we're really trying to do the same thing, as far as educating them on what is actually happening in the
Hmm.
market for properties that need work, right?
Right. Right.
And it goes so far, and it all comes down to the way you can, build rapport with that person and have them trust that what you're saying is legit and you're not just trying to pull one over on them.
Right.
So that's really it doesn't change. Our approach doesn't change so much when things get kind of wonky in the market, but just the things we are saying change because we're just being transparent. So when the market is shifting, we're telling them something different than what it was doing before, but we still have the approach of just letting the homeowner know and say, look, these are the options, this is why we're a great fit. If we're not a great fit, we'll tell them, like, why are you even calling us? Like, you need to
Mhm.
call a real estate agent.
Right. Right.
And a lot of times they're like, it's almost like reverse psychology, I guess. They're like, well, no, I don't
Right.
want to. I want to go with you, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You really shouldn't do that.
Right.
um, so when we have that approach, it makes it easier for us when we're,
Hmm.
walking through that with the homeowner. So
No, that's great. And I actually brought that up. I kind of set that up on purpose because I want people to know and hear that, for those guys that are out there just trying to chase the dollars,
mhm.
in my opinion, they're playing a short-term game no matter what, anyhow.
Yep.
And sitting down, explaining to a seller the process of how you work.
Yes.
I mean, I've beat people out of deals so many times because I do that, and
Yeah.
I was taught to do that from the very beginning, and I've always have. And of course, we come from the same school of educators and teachers, so
Right.
that's why we go down that path. And you know, letting them know the process of going through title, the process of if we have an issue on the title, how we're going to work through solving that problem. We're not just going to
Mhm.
tell them no, we can't do it.
Right.
You know, it really boils down to building that rapport.
Yeah.
And once you get that rapport and that those people trust you, then the numbers become very secondary in most cases.
Yep.
And if you're going to survive this and get through it and prosper on the other side, especially if you want to be a wholesaler and be a successful wholesaler like you are, you have to know how to do this.
Yes.
Um, if you're just out there chasing the dollars because you got somebody over there that's going to pay more, like I said, that's not a long-term business plan anyhow.
Right.
But with everything going on, some of these groups, hedge funds, things like that have paid so much for properties for the past couple of years. Who knows if they're going to come back or how fast they're going to come back if they do.
Yeah.
You know, because when we have something like this, so many things change um, through the process, and like I say, we have no idea where that's going to go at this point.
Right.
Um, so
Well, that's the one part too about it is, you know, we think this is going to be done, you know, in the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks, but we don't know. And so when we don't have that timeline, you know, you
mhm,
really have to tighten your belt loop and buckle down and get back to the basics, get back to the fundamentals, get back to adding value to people, just not just the sellers but the buyers as well, you know.
right, right.
And if you're not doing that, if you're just, you know, trying, like you said, trying to chase the buck and you forget about the value, man, this is the kind of thing that can wipe people like that out.
Mhm.
Which I wouldn't necessarily cry a whole lot of tears about, but
You mean both?
um, you know, it's always one thing I'm always harping on my team about is add value first, right? Just
Yes.
add value
Yes.
first, and the rest will fall into play. There's going to be times where you're going to get beat and you're going to lose out, and to some degree, we are fighting the good fight, but that's okay.
Mhm.
More often than not, that's what is gonna lead to long-term sustainability as a business.
Oh, definitely, definitely, and you know, especially people that are out there now offering too much, just keep following up because
Yep.
we know nobody's going to buy those deals based
Right.
on our experience and other people we're talking to.
Right.
Um, you know, the guys that are out there right now bragging about how they're doing all this stuff and nothing is affecting them, I'd be a little leery of those guys
Yeah.
because this is affecting everybody. It doesn't matter who you are or what level you are.
Yep.
This
Well,
what's going on is affecting everybody.
and there's one thing I've learned too over the years is what is said on the social media is not accurate.
It's kind of like the reality shows on
Is
TV
very much so.
or,
Even
or the news.
I feel like the reality shows on TV are often more accurate than some of the stuff you can find on Facebook these days.
And right now, I would probably agree with that because I'm just see, you know, I really stay off a lot of that because I just can't take it anyhow.
Yep.
But some of the things that are being said out there right now are just crazy. You know, I'm talking, you know, when it comes to the lenders, you know, the lenders are still lending.
Yeah.
Have they tightened up their criteria? Most definitely.
Yep.
But some of the things I'm seeing out there just make no sense whatsoever, and it's going out to everybody across the nation,
Oh yeah.
and people are taking this stuff wholeheartedly and like, no, you know, that's why you and I talk. That's why I talk to lenders. I talk to my title company, all
Yep.
the people that really have things going on, and all these businesses are still running and working. Uh,
Yep.
so, you
You
know,
know, I'm doing a Daryl over at Noble and I are doing a
mhm,
webinar on, I think it's the 22nd. And he's going to be talking about just that. Like, what are some of the changes he's making on the lending side, you know? And so
mhm.
you get to hear from him. And I
And
know he's,
Daryl, you talk about a great resource. Daryl, I mean,
oh
he's been
man,
around for 20 years,
forever. Yeah.
and you know, and he's one of my resources for information right now as well because
Yep.
you know, I actually the first time I met Daryl, I think was like in 2003. One of the first rental properties I ever bought, he closed.
Nice.
so,
Nice.
and it was when he was getting started. Uh,
Yeah.
but you know, these are the people that really know what's going on. You know, because someone like Daryl, I mean, they not only do they deal with investors and hard money, but they're also dealing with the FHA, the conventional.
Yep.
They do all that other stuff too.
Oh yeah.
This is a super resource for what is really accurate going on. These guys really
Right.
know, and so you know, if you're out there and you don't know and you're scared about something and you want to maybe try and move ahead with a deal, guys like that are who you need to talk to.
Absolutely.
You know,
You want the guys who have been around and who have weathered a storm in their day, you
well,
know?
he's weathered a number of them. So
Yes, he
yeah,
has.
and he's still here, very strong, still running a very strong team.
Yep.
So you know,
Agreed.
there's some great resources out there for everybody, and that's like I say, that's why I want to bring this kind of a topic to everybody because
Yeah.
nobody's talking about the wholesaling side of it, and
Yeah.
it plays a major role, especially based on, the way our market was, and have been in such a good, strong economy
Yeah.
prior to all this happening. Um, and our hedge funds, our guys that are paying, 80, 85, 90%, they're all gone right now.
Yeah. For sure.
None of them are around.
For sure.
And we don't know, we don't have any idea if they're going to come back. I would like to hope that they don't, because it's made it difficult.
Yep.
And they're losing money. They just don't realize it yet.
Well, all of, not just them, but all of the what do they call them? All the iBuyers, the open doors, all those guys, they're not buying. They've shut down buying right now because they're like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. So, and they're not even making money on deals in the first place. So
when it comes around and they finally start doing the accounting, because I've evaluated probably 6 or 7 of their deals when I've been running comps on other deals I'm looking at, and they're losing money. Every deal I've looked at,
every transaction.
Yeah. So hopefully they just don't come back.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
What's funny about those guys though is they, we do compete with them, and the funny thing though is they don't want the ugly stuff.
Exactly.
They want like the kind of clean, needs a little bit of updating, maybe paint, maybe new carpet. They don't want to come in and tear cabinets out and deal with, termites or, mold or anything like that.
Right.
And so they really have pinched us in that kind of intermediary, the not quite retail, not quite, busted up full flip market. But they don't want to touch the funky stuff, which is that's the stuff we love.
Yeah, that works to my advantage tremendously.
Right. But I'm with you. If they don't come back and they just completely stop buying, that would no skin off my back.
Yeah, right.
So
well, is there more that you want to add to this? Before we kind of call it quits.
A little preview to what I'll talk about in the webinar is, kind of what people can be doing, especially, active investors who are looking for, more rental property, looking for more flips, is just constant communication is something that's extremely important. It's something that I always wish we got more feedback from, especially on our buyer side. Like if you guys are shifting, if you guys are, you were flipping properties, but now you want to go to buy and hold, or you were buy and hold, and now you think you're going to, flips for whatever reason. Everybody has their own, reasoning for doing things, their own whys. Just staying in constant communication is so important. So like you said, if you're an investor out there and you're nervous about what's going to happen, talk to guys like Steve, talk to guys like me, talk to guys like Daryl. Hey, what are you seeing? What's going on? Are you changing your lending? It's better to know, especially on a lending perspective, especially if you're banking on that hard money lender lending on that property and you're in an unknown market like we are kind of right now, it's really good for you to talk to that guy ahead of time. Yeah, that way you don't go buy a property from a wholesaler and put, a $3,000 or $5,000 deposit down, and then boom, all of a sudden the lender's like, oh no, I'm not touching that stuff right now. Right. So over communicate, get in contact. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know what's happening in the market right now. Because newsflash, nobody does.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so having that open line of communication with all of your, your partners, your wholesaler that you buy from, your lender, maybe your peer group that you got a group of guys that actively invest and you guys are, chopping it up every now and then, talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. I'm constantly preaching about over communicating in times like this.
No, I think that's fantastic. Now let me ask one more question.
Sure.
As a wholesaler or as an investor, should you stop doing anything right now?
Man, that's a great question. I think if I was going to say stop doing anything, I would say I would not venture into anything you don't have experience in right now. So if you have been buying, say, rental property and you've done no flips or one flip, maybe now's not the time to, go find a new contractor, go get into a new flip, and vice versa. If you're not too keen on how to, buy and hold properly and, screen tenants properly, get the right crews in, all that kind of stuff, maybe now's not the time to try something new. I never want to be a trailblazer. That is, my ego doesn't need to be satisfied by that. I would much prefer somebody else go be the trailblazer. And if they make just a little bit more than I do, because they go improve the method, I'm fine with that. I'm A-okay with that. So don't go be a trailblazer right now. I wouldn't recommend it in any market, but especially in times like this. Now is not the time to really go after something new. I don't think it's the time for that. It's the time to kind of, look internally. What can you make better? Maybe how can you make more offers? How can you get in touch with more people who can provide you with resources, whether that's new lenders and whatnot. So that's what I would say to stop doing is it's not really stop, just don't start doing something you have no experience in right now.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Thank you much for that. And I agree with what you're saying. One of my mottos has always kind of been, I'm not out to invent anything. I want to be a great copycat.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So right now is a really good time, stay active, keep trying to move forward. Don't stop doing what you've been doing.
Correct.
But be more cautious, be more educated about it.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, reach out to people and ask. I've got people calling me just about every day asking me, different things, what's going on, how I'm buying, if I do buy still, and we just lay it all out.
Yep. Same thing.
And we've got to work through this. Hopefully our limbo stage won't last too much longer, but like I say,
hopefully.
It's up in the air. None of us have any idea.
And that's the thing. Everybody's dealing with it. You're not the only one stuck at home with your kids, right? So there's no use.
How's that working out with you for you working at home with the kids?
It's challenging because my wife is also at home working. So, we do do you have a call today? Do you have a call today? And so it's like, some days I get very little work done. Some days I get quite a bit done. It's been nice though, because I've been able to actually get a lot more quality time with my family. But at the same time, my ambition is getting hit because my productivity has definitely gone down.
I've noticed that with a lot of people. Productivity, I think, is going to be a big issue. I'm hearing a lot of people making predictions about the commercial market's going to crash and everybody's going to want to work from home. I don't agree with that at all. But,
I don't either. I can't wait to get back to the office.
Those are all the people with making the predictions with the crystal balls, I guess. I'm not one of those, but Matt, I think this has been great. I think it's
thank you,
helped
Steve.
A lot of people just open your eyes and maybe some things you haven't thought about where, like I said, we're not trying to invent anything new here. We're just kind of telling you where we're at, what we're doing, what we see, and it's to help you guys move forward, help you get through it, and just if you need to reach out to people, reach out to people. It's not a bad thing at all.
No,
we're both doing it every day,
Right.
So again, thanks, Matt. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, me too.
For everybody out there, our Wealth Club meeting will be on April 30th, starting at 7. We'll be doing Zoom and streaming on Facebook. So get connected with us there, get signed up for that. And Matt, I look forward to talking to you over the next couple of weeks as we go through this, man.
Sounds good.
Okay, you have a great day.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.